which is why very well, and I don't know how long after, but eventually that policy was largely discarded. In an economy where foreign exchange is at a premium because we are largely import dependent, then no agent of government should come up with a policy that prevents the inflow of scarce foreign exchange into your official financial system. So I believe that they may have had their own objectives. I don't know what those objectives were, but it is clear that it wasn't a bad situation. Which is why
sorry to cut you, because I asked this because of the question we had asked you about comments, how comments and statements can actually fuel, help, or even kill a system. And for so many, they still think that so many Nigerians, and even those doing business here, had to withhold their funds and say, just the way you put it, let's watch and see what happens.
Absolutely. Even beyond Nigerians who wanted to inflow money, right? Institutional investors, development finance institutions, right? A lot of them said, the Nigerian government, until you allow market forces to determine how your foreign exchange market operates, we will hold on. So significant players, there are a lot of projects that they have said, power projects, infrastructure projects, that have been put on hold because these people say, I will not bring in my money until there is clarity in your market. You cannot predetermine the rate of exchange, especially when you do not control all of the factors. So I think that it's taken us a year, but I think that we are finally in the right place and moving in the right direction. What Nigerians should demand of the CBN and of the government now is the faithful implementation, the effective implementation of this particular policy. The CBN must truly, truly allow the markets to be independent and allow market forces to determine. Then we must also improve, as a matter of national importance and priority, our export potential, because the nation is blessed with abundant resources. What has been lacking has been a clear, well-articulated plan to turn this potential into actual value.
Why don't we talk a lot about making our Naira a convertible currency?
Well, my view is we have to move in gradual steps. They say if you want to eat an elephant, you take it one piece at a time. I think that ultimately, when the economy improves, when our potential has been transformed into actual performance, i.e., a lot of the dormant sectors of the Nigerian economy, the steel industry, the solid minerals industry, right, the global manufacturing space. Now, when we are creating value in those places, what will ultimately happen is the Nigerian Naira will continually become stronger, and as it becomes stronger, it starts to move towards ultimately parity or as close to parity with international currencies as possible. Now, once the Naira is stronger, a lot of the economic actors all over the world will have a greater degree of confidence in the Naira. Then at that point, somewhere down the line, you can start talking about the Naira assuming the role or the status of being a convertible currency. I would say for now, let us look inwards. Let us work on this potential that we have been talking about for 56 years.
But in the 70s, 60s, the currency was very strong.
Yes.
Why didn't we do it then?
Well, again, in the 70s and 60s, you have to go back and look at the type of governance we had at the time. Essentially up until 1999, we were run by the military. And due respect to the military, I don't think they are the best managers of any economy.
But then, these persons who you say have held back their funds, how are they going to bring them back into the system?
Well, there are two categories of people. There are the individuals who typically would want to send monies home to family to support projects locally. Now, those kind of people would typically favor the parallel market because they are not talking about huge sums of money, $5,000, $8,000. They're happy to come and change that at the black market. But there are also some other groups of Nigerians in diaspora who want to actually invest in the Nigerian economy. So they are talking about significantly larger sums. Now, those were the kind of people that the previous foreign exchange regime prevented from bringing their monies in. Because if somebody wanted to inflow $100,000, they wouldn't bring it in cash. They would need to send it through the financial system. But at the time, the CBN was insisting that your $100,000 must be exchanged at 199. And they said, no way. You know, because I know that the value of the Naira is not 199. It is actually closer to 300 or whatever it is. So those kind of people today are the ones that will now be more willing to bring their monies in. So I expect that once the new market starts, we will give it, I'm sure all the actors will give it a couple of weeks to see how it is functioning. And as they build confidence in that market, I believe that you will start to see increased inflows.
Then I'm also wondering, because now that these 10 banks are coming in, I mean, the CBN okaying them as forex dealers, how are we sure that, look, it's going to be left to the forces of demand and supply? Because there will always be demand for this currency since we're an imports-dependent country.
Well, first things first, how were the 10 banks chosen out of 20-something odd banks? I believe what the CBN did was to look at the level of activity. Every week they used to release the demand and the activity per bank in Nigeria. So I think the choice of these banks was largely based on the amount of volumes they were trading, number one. Number two, now that we have this system, now that we have these primary dealers, the question is, how are we sure that all of the actors will play by the rules to the ultimate benefit of the Nigerian economy? That is where yourselves and myself and everybody else, we now must become the watchdog. We now must ensure that there is transparency in all of the dealings. You know, the CBN said every bank publish how you disburse your foreign exchange allocation. I think inside of this market, you will see that. This market is going to be driven through a platform called the FMDQ, which is an over-the-counter market. It is largely private sector driven, so it is not a government entity. Now, what I believe will then happen is there will be complete transparency. You can go online and check the level of activity.
Very important, because when you leave Nigeria, you go any part of the world, you're trying to convert any currency.
Correct.
It's the same from kiosk A to kiosk B. But you come back home, the difference is not, the differential is not even in 2 Naira or 1 Naira. You can see it like even 100 Naira. And this practice you're talking about, that we must also watch these banks, is coming on the heels of allegations that sometimes some of these foreign exchange are taken by some bank staff to the black market.
Absolutely. I think eternal vigilance is critical at this time. But like I said, the partnership with the FMDQ will provide the transparency that a lot of participants in the foreign exchange market are looking for, because that is largely a private sector driven institution, and information is available online real time.
Let me take this question before we wrap up. Ife Uriah says, how has the earlier China deal affected the value of the Naira?
Very good question. I think there is a need for the Nigerian government to provide clarity around the China deal, because as I sit here today, I don't know for certain what has been signed or not signed. We keep getting conflicting signals. Are we borrowing money? Have we agreed a currency swap? What exactly is the nature of our engagement with China? Ultimately, the objective of that conversation, a currency swap, was that between Nigeria and China, we do $15 billion worth of trade. Now, it makes sense for there to be easy convertibility between the currencies of those two economies. But we actually need the government to come out and tell us in clear terms, we have agreed such and such, these were the terms and conditions. We've agreed some new funding, these were the terms and conditions. So I think communication needs to be improved.
Great stuff. Bayo Rotimi, business market analyst. Thank you for talking to us today.